Aloha and welcome to Wind in Her Hair. I'm Anna, your host, and today is a solo episode. And if you're watching this video, I just moved into a new place in Jupiter, Florida. Yes, I've moved again, but I'm going to be here for at least a year. And this is my new office. I'm working on the background, but the rest of the wallpaper has not come in yet. So I just thought, you know what? I just have to go for it. I just have to send it because I can't miss another week. I think I've missed 3 weeks in a row now from moving, and it's been a wild last few months. But this episode is very special because it's all about emotional safety, and I love this topic so much because this is something I did not experience in my marriage of 13 years. It was completely void of emotional safety, and I beat my head against a brick wall for over a decade, wondering, why is there no emotional connection? Why is there no emotional safety? And then I learned why. And my ex-husband was a dismissive avoidant, and there were other issues involved as well. And he unfortunately was not raised by parents who taught him emotional safety. And so now I'm here to teach you what is emotional safety and what a woman truly needs and desires in a relationship. And no better person to hear it from than a woman herself and a high value woman. And I say high value, every person has value, yes, but not everybody lives like they value themselves. A lot of people make really bad decisions and become addicted to certain things. They don't live to their potential. They're not walking in their purpose. They're not taking care of their body physically, their mind, their soul. They're broke. They're just fumbling and drifting through life, jumping from one unhealthy relationship to the next out of loneliness or fear or boredom. That's not a person who values their lives. And lastly, they don't really truly love their lives. They don't have joy. They don't have freedom. And they're probably not pursuing their dreams or have vision for their life. So, are you a high value person? If not, it's time to level the F up. This episode is entitled Emotional Safety, Self Mastery, and Becoming a Great Man. This is directed towards men, but women, if you are in a relationship and you feel like you're lacking emotional safety, then listen to this episode and take notes. And eventually talk to your person, and I will help you, give you some things to talk about. And at least it'll give you a roadmap of where you are and where you need to go. If you're with an emotionally unsafe person, you have two options. They either level up or you leave, or you stay and suffer. I guess that's three. I stayed and suffered for a long time because my ex wouldn't level up. And then I realized nothing was going to change, so I rescued myself. I want to talk about emotional safety, but from a different perspective. A lot of people think that emotional safety is all about communication, and it is about that. But it's also, more importantly, the crux of it is self mastery. That's what emotional safety is, self mastery. And a lot of high performing men have learned to master their business, their bodies, their finances, their schedules, their environments. And they've learned about discipline and how to perform under pressure and solve problems and produce results. But, and by the way, what do I mean by a high performing man? I'm going to give you a list of items for you to check off if you wonder if you're a high performing man. I'm sure you already know if you are. This man holds himself to high standards and produces results. They are not okay with the bare minimum. They carry significant responsibility in their careers, their businesses, their family, and their community. They're on boards, they're a part of certain groups, giving to different functions, and they're ambitious, they're driven, and they want to continue growing, even if it's just to prove a point, even if it's just to earn praise and affirmation, even if it's because they're incredibly insecure and they want to become someone respected and admired. They're disciplined and willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term results. They perform well under pressure and they know how to solve problems. They value competence, independence, achievement, and progress. Slow people frustrate them to no end. They expect a lot from themselves. So this is a high performer. They also tend to be dismissive avoidance and workaholics. All these skills that took them to succeed in business is what is wrecking or has wrecked their relationships. Because the skills it took to succeed in business were without emotion. You have to be emotionless. You have to push through, suppress, push through the loneliness, the fear, the insecurity, not talk about your feelings and emotions because they consider it to be a weakness. They consider vulnerability to be a weakness. And they say they don't have strong emotions. They don't talk about them. They don't name them. They don't own them. They just push through and keep on trudging along. And they never ever learned how to sit with emotions or express their needs or set boundaries. So, high performers describe what you're capable of doing. That's what a high performer is. It describes what you're capable of producing and doing. It does not necessarily describe who you are. There's a big difference there. So you can be incredibly successful and still struggle with being defensive, having emotional regulation, being intimate, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, receiving feedback, or repairing conflict, which is huge. So we're going to touch on 7 different topics. Conflict repair is going to be one of them, which is if you don't have conflict repair in a relationship, you will fail 100%. You will either stay in the marriage and suffer and probably end up cheating, or you will just endure. Maybe you won't cheat, but you'll be miserable and you'll be roommates if you don't have conflict repair and emotional availability. So a performer asks, what can I accomplish next? And self-mastery asks, how do I respond when I can't control the outcome? Think about this, men. Certain business transactions, you can't control the outcome. Your children, you cannot control the outcome. So that's where self-mastery comes in, because you don't have control over these things. The only person you have control over, the only thing is yourself. And that's why I really want to dive into self-mastery. So what happens when your wife tells you, here's a few examples, something you don't want to hear, or your child disappoints you, or someone questions your judgment, or you feel rejected, criticized, disrespected, or misunderstood. This is where self-mastery comes in. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, so we are very opinionated. We're very strong-willed. We are the leaders. We're the snowplows. We want to plow a path for people and help them level up. We also, when we're triggered, we react in anger. For most of my life, I had to really work on mastering my anger, my reactions, and mastering myself, mastering my reactions to my children. And I have 3 of them, ages 15, 17, and almost 23. And now we are all living in South Florida, which is a miracle, a story I will share at some point, which will probably make me cry. I feel emotional right now. My daughter is arriving tomorrow. The fact that she's coming, she's 17, she's enrolling in high school. The fact that she's coming is a miracle. Like, I prayed for 2.5 years and fought. I'm getting emotional. Well, I did not plan on talking about this, but she's coming and I have to give all the glory to God, all of the glory, because it's through Him. I surrendered. I tried so hard for years. And when I finally surrendered, she's coming now. So back to you. You can be incredibly successful and still be difficult to tell the truth to. Let me back up for a minute. So I was working on myself, learning how to not respond so harshly to my children and to other people in my life. And it took me a really, really long time to learn self-mastery and to learn that feedback is a gift. I heard about this probably 10 years ago, that feedback is a gift, and I probably say it every other day. And it has changed my life. And I used to only want to see from my perspective. But now I value other people's perspectives because that's how we grow. That's how we learn. That's how we're able to think outside the box. You can be incredibly successful and still be difficult to tell the truth to. And I never want my children to ever fear that they can't come to me and tell me absolutely anything that's on their mind. And I've had to work really hard at creating a safe space for them. And so I'm single right now, but I use my children to practice self mastery so that when I do get into a relationship, I don't halt my healing or my growth until I get into a relationship. I'm learning constantly every single day how to push the pause button, how to respond to my children, how to bite my tongue, how to receive the feedback, how to see from another perspective. And so if the people closest to you have to manage your reaction before they can be honest with you, that is not emotional safety. If they're walking on eggshells and they have to filter what they say, that does not create an environment to feel safe in and at home and comfortable being connected to you. So today we're going to talk about self-mastery, emotional safety, defensiveness, conflict repair, and how to become the kind of man your wife, your children, your friends, the people you lead can tell the truth to. They want to tell the truth to you. And if you give them the opportunity, you will grow, you will level up. Because I'll tell you one thing from working with high-performing men, they literally have a perspective of themselves they think other people have. And most of the time, it's not true. They think that they come off a certain way. But I have this 3-day in-person immersion program where I go meet the client, and for 3 days, we work together. We coach, we talk. Sometimes we golf, sometimes we ride horses, sometimes we play pickleball. I'm just with them, watching their mannerisms. I'm listening to their communication. And I am there to give them a perspective that nobody else has ever given them, because your friends are going to lie to you. Your friends are not going to tell you the truth all the time because they don't want to hurt their feelings. And for them, it's kind of not worth the fight. They just say, we're good. I don't need to tell him that he's completely annoying and brags about himself constantly. I don't want to deal with that conflict. I just want to just keep things the way they are. I don't want to rock the boat. But when I will spend time with a man, within a few hours, I realize, wow, this person is incredibly insecure and extremely boastful, and they don't even know it. So the point of me saying that is, this is why it's so important to not necessarily believe what your family, your friends, your wife tells you, because sometimes they don't want to hurt your feelings. And so that's why it's important to be able to ask them and create a space of emotional safety, and to be able to say, hey, I know maybe I haven't been emotionally safe for you, but I want to change that. Can you please be completely honest with me? You're not going to hurt my feelings. Please tell me what I can do differently to love you better or to allow you to feel safe telling me the truth. I want to change. When you come to them with that humility and you squish your ego, that's different. We are going to talk about our first topic, which is challenge your definition of strength. Proverbs 16:32, better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. We tend to measure masculine strength externally. Money, physical strength, status, discipline, leadership, achievement, influence, the ability to provide. And I'll tell you this also, because I'm a relationship coach for high-performing men, in case you didn't know. When they describe their high-value woman, and I'm saying this in quotes, they describe what she looks like on the outside. Or a man will describe how she views him. Well, she tells me that I dress great, and I'm so smart, and I'm the most handsome man she knows, and I'm so successful, and I give her all the things. That's not masculine strength. We need to talk about the inside, and I get them to go deeper and to talk about the internal. This is what's important, is the character, because the outside stuff can be stripped away from you and fade. What's on the inside is the most important. This is what cultivates a satisfying, deep, meaningful relationship. These things are important. The achievement, the influence, the ability to provide, these things matter, but they don't necessarily tell me whether you have mastered yourself. Because when you master yourself, it has everything to do with the internal, like I just said. And lastly, the verse says, a patient man, which describes your internal world, right? That describes your character. The warrior, that describes external. On the outside, he's strong, he's got the sword, he's ready to fight and go into battle and give direction and lead the people. That's external. So I want you to ask yourself, who are you when your ego gets hit? Pause this and ask yourself, who are you when your ego gets hit? Who are you when your wife criticizes you? And if your wife continually criticizes you, you have to change. You have to do something different. Jim Rohn says, in order for things to change, you have to change. In order for things to get better, you have to get better. You have to mitigate that and figure out, why is she criticizing me? What am I not doing? What do I need to do better? I'm loving her. No, you're not. You're missing the mark. You're both probably not loving each other according to your love languages. You're missing something, and it's not all her fault, and vice versa. Third question, can you stay grounded when someone you love is emotional? This is when men have a hard time, when she's needs reassurance, or she's crying, or she's upset or frustrated. They just see that as a problem, an obstacle, instead of looking at it as opportunity to bond with her, to build trust, emotional safety, and ultimately have better sex and physical intimacy, sexual intimacy, spiritual intimacy. Fourth, can you hear criticism without immediately defending yourself? This was very hard for me. I had to learn just to bite my tongue and be like, you know what? This is their perspective and there might be some truth to it. I want to get curious, because if I have an opportunity to level up and change and get better and ultimately love others well or love others better, then now's my opportunity. Next question, could you admit you're wrong without feeling weak? Next question, can you set a boundary without becoming cruel? A lot of people think that setting boundaries is telling somebody else how to behave, how to act, but we can't control other people. Setting a boundary is specifically 2 steps. Number 1, be clear. Clarify. This is, if you do this, this is what I'm going to do. And number 2, follow through. If you yell at me, I'm going to excuse myself. If you cheat on me, I'm going to leave. If you talk to me that way, I'm not going to trust you. And without trust, we don't have a relationship. Next question. Can you feel anger without letting anger make your decisions? There's a verse in the Bible that comes to mind right now. It says, be angry, but do not sin. So being angry is not a sin, but acting out in your anger, being impatient, being reactive, cruel, harsh, mean, belittling, demeaning, that is sin. So your strength isn't really tested when everything is going your way. There's no growth in comfort. You don't get tested in comfort. It's tested when you don't get the response, the respect, the agreement, or the outcome you want. And I tell men, is she grateful? This is how you test her character. How does she behave when she doesn't get her way? Does she have a fit? Does she become rude? Does she withdraw? Conquering the world is impressive, but governing yourself while you're doing it is greatness. I'm going to say that again. Conquering the world is impressive. You high-performing men, you've conquered the world. You've started businesses. You've made these gigantic transactions. You've invested and you've done all the things. But governing yourself while you're doing it is true greatness. Just because you conquered the world, it doesn't mean you're great. It's impressive. It doesn't mean you're great. It's number 2, control versus self-mastery. High performers become very good at controlling variables and producing outcomes. That works in business, but relationships are different because they involve something you cannot control, which is another human being. Your wife is not an employee, and your children are not projects. You cannot control another person's feelings, their needs, their opinions, their timing, or their responses. It's even hard to even influence it. When you don't have influence in somebody's life, that means you don't have the doorway, the space to say anything that's going to change their mind. And control says, I need you to behave differently so I can be okay. And I knew someone like this who put the state of his nervous system in other people's care or responsibility. And that's a dangerous place to be because you could wake up feeling completely fine, but if they trigger you, if they bump into you, so to speak, you allow yourself to fly off the handle and then you blame them. Well, you made me angry. You ruined my day. That is such a victim mindset. I encourage you, if you do this, take that power back and stop putting the state of your nervous system in other people's control. It needs to be yours and yours alone. You decide what your mood is going to be. Just because they're chaotic doesn't mean you're going to get sucked into their storm. You're going to be a strong anchor that says, hey, I'm not going to let their moods dictate mine. I'm going to remain calm. I'm going to remain patient, and I'm going to leave the moment before I default to being harsh or cruel or angry or immature. And self-mastery says, I can govern myself even when you aren't responding the way I want. So control says, I need you to behave differently so I can be okay. And self-mastery says, I can govern myself even when you aren't responding the way I want. And I have had to work on this so much in the last few years. Ask yourself, am I leading the relationship or am I trying to control the people in it? Am I leading this relationship from a place of wisdom and patience and understanding, having everybody's best interest in mind with no ego or very little ego? Or are you trying to control the people in it so you'll be okay? That's a dangerous, unsafe, unsustainable place to be. Number 3, what emotional safety actually means. Emotional safety does not mean keeping everyone happy. Happiness is a byproduct of you walking in your calling. Let's stop making happiness a goal. Let's start making something so much more deeper and meaningful our goal, which is walking in our purpose. Because when you're using the gifts that God has given you to impact this world, there's nothing more fulfilling, especially when you're able to pour into other human beings like your children and your wife, to be able to pour into their gifts and uplift them and help build them up and encourage them and strengthen them emotionally and spiritually. When you cultivate a relationship with Jesus Christ who loves you, you can point others to him and say, I'm where I am today because of him. I give all the glory to him because I could not have done this in my own strength. I tried. Trust me, I tried and I failed until I got to the point where I gave up and I surrendered on my knees. And this is my season of solitude in Nashville. It's one of my earlier episodes from July of 2025. That's when I finally surrendered and God changed my life. Emotional safety does not mean keeping everyone happy, avoiding conflict, agreeing with everything your partner says, tolerating disrespect, or abandoning your boundaries. That is not emotional safety. That's you abandoning yourself and being walked all over. And unfortunately, some of you men are with women, specifically narcissistic women who are not willing to change or work on themselves or take responsibility. You're with these women who are domineering and who tell you what to do. And these women were not taught good communication skills or how to be respectful, unfortunately. But it takes two to tango. And if you've been allowing her to treat you a certain way, it's time to set boundaries in a loving way and to communicate your needs and to say, hey, something's got to change because this is not sustainable. We're both miserable. We're both unhappy. We don't want to resort to cheating. So let's talk. Let's use our words. All right. Emotional safety means the people closest to you can bring you their truth without being afraid of what you're going to do with it. Are you going to punish them? Are you going to react? Are you going to belittle? Are you going to interrupt them? Are you going to ignore it? Are you going to raise your voice? Are you going to put them down? Are you going to correct them? Are you going to defend yourself? Are you going to explain why you did it? Which is a big no-no. It doesn't matter why you did it. And I had this conversation with a client recently. And think about this. When somebody offends you, hurts you, breaks your trust, disrespects you, and they come to you and they say, I'm so sorry, I did it because X, Y, and Z. You're like, and? Like, that doesn't make it any better. You still did it. So stop trying to explain why you did stuff and just take responsibility. Can your wife tell you she's unhappy? Can your wife tell you things like she feels like she doesn't get enough time with you? She's depressed. She needs more alone time. She needs more sex, whatever it is. Can your child tell you that they screwed up? Can your friend tell you that you're wrong? That your facts are incorrect? That that's not actually what happened? Can someone disagree with you without worrying about your reaction? Maybe right away off the top of your head, you're going to answer positively to all these. Yeah, my wife can tell me how she's feeling, but can she really? I would go to her and say, "Do you feel safe telling me that you're unhappy or that you're sad or you're depressed or you're not content in life?" If people have to calculate your reaction before they tell you the truth, are you actually emotionally safe? Men have a hard time just swallowing truth. And I'm saying truth in quotes because maybe to you it's not truth, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think in this situation. It only matters what she thinks. Because what she thinks is her perspective, it's her truth, it's her reality. So if you said a certain thing to her that didn't sit well with her, and you think that shouldn't have offended you, because to her in her world, how she was raised, how she sees the world, how she deals with this stuff, the things she's experienced in her life, she's triggered because of the thing you said. The whole point is not to make it a big deal about you should or shouldn't feel that way or be bothered by this thing. The point is she is. She is triggered by it. So your job is to say, "Hey, I'm sorry, what about that triggered you? I'll make sure I don't mention that again. And I will level up and I'll do better next time so I can create emotional safety so we can have a good relationship, have joy and good sex," right? So, the more successful and powerful you become, the more important this becomes because people naturally become careful around powerful people. They tend to walk on eggshells. They don't want to disrupt them. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to offend them. And maybe it's because you are harsher than you realize. So, number 4. Oh, here's a good quote. I like this. Don't mistake compliance for respect. Don't mistake silence for peace. They may not really respect you. They're just complying out of fear. There may not really be peace just because there's silence. There might be silence out of fear. Number 4, 10 ways to create emotional safety. So pause this after everyone, write it down in your notes app on your phone, read it multiple times a week, and put these into practice starting today. Even just one a week, 10 weeks from now, not even 3 months later, you will have a drastically different relationship if you put in the work. If you're not willing to put in the work, you might as well get divorced and be alone for the rest of your life. It's just the truth, reality. Number 1, listen before you fix. I think men will struggle with this immensely because high-performing men are problem solvers. But not every emotional conversation needs a solution. It doesn't. And maybe that's an epiphany for you. Maybe you had never thought about that before. Just because she tells you something, it doesn't mean she's asking for a solution. And this is how women are. They just want to be heard. They just want to know that they're seen and they matter. And you're there to let them just cry. Like, "I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know what my problem is, but I just feel upset." And you just say, "Okay, I'm here for you. Can I give you a hug? Can I hold you?" Like, just cry it out. "I'm here for you. I'm not leaving." And some women don't even know why they're feeling certain things, but men, you become a great man when you can dig and peel back the layers. And once you start practicing this, it gets easier and easier. But if you've never done this, it's going to be hard. Just don't give up. If you give up, you will fail. If you don't give up, you will succeed at some point. So sometimes your partner needs to feel understood. Like, "I get it. I can see why you're so frustrated. That would piss me off too." That's it. That would make a world of difference in her life. So ask things like, "Do you want me to help you solve this or do you just want me to listen?" I'm fine with either. Number 2, get curious before becoming defensive. If she says, "When you did that, I felt dismissed," and hopefully she will learn to communicate like this if she doesn't already, don't immediately respond with, "That's not what I meant." That's being defensive. So the first step after she communicates something to you is to get curious. That means you're asking questions. Or like, help me understand that. You could say, I didn't intend for it to land that way. Help me understand. That help me understand is humility, and humility brings down walls. Humility creates softness and emotional safety. So if she says to you something like, that didn't sit well with me, I feel triggered by that. That made me feel disrespected. That embarrassed me when you said that in front of our friends. You don't say, well, that's not what I meant. Well, you still said it. Whether you meant it or not, you still said it. So a good response again is, I didn't intend for that to land that way. I'm sorry. Can you help me understand? Or I definitely will not joke about that again. I can see why that would have offended you. Number 3, learn to receive feedback, because feedback is a gift. Your wife might say, you've been distracted lately, but you hear, you're a terrible husband. Where are you? And now you're defending yourself instead of listening. So ask, is there something here that I need to hear? And Proverbs 12:15 says, the way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. And only fools argue with fools. When your wife gives you feedback, like, I hardly see you anymore, you've been distracted, you've been golfing a lot, the kids say they miss you, you will hear the worst possible thing. Like, I'm a terrible failing husband. But that's not true. It just means you're in your own world and it's time to wake up and pay attention to the other people in your home, and not to defend yourself, but to be curious. Can you tell me more? Thank you for sharing that with me. I want to know how I can do better. What does it mean for you when you say, I've been distracted lately? It might be obvious, but some people have different definitions or examples of certain things. She says, we never go on dates anymore. And you're thinking, I took her out twice last week to eat. And she says, we never date anymore. You got to go deeper and say, okay, what do you mean by that? What is a date to you? She might say, taking me out to a really nice dinner, just you and I, and dressing up. But you met friends and it was more casual. So there's the disconnect. That's why it's important to ask questions. What does a date mean to you? What does quality time mean for you? What does good sex mean to you? What does managing her finances mean to you? And to get curious about what is her perspective, so you stop fighting about nuances in words. Number 4, so validation does not mean I agree. Validation is a beautiful, wonderful step who reduces conflict and fighting. If somebody shares something with you and you go straight to explaining why you did it, like, I didn't mean it that way, or you get defensive or you get upset, you might as well just throw in the towel, because you've already failed. That's why this next step is so important, to validate, which means you're not agreeing with the person. When she says, you've been distracted lately, and you say, I can see why you're saying that, it doesn't necessarily mean she's right. Maybe you haven't really been distracted. Maybe you have been depressed. Maybe you have been worried about something. So you can say, do you mean I've been distracted because I've been quiet lately? And she'll say, yeah. And say, well, I can see why you feel that way. It's not distracted as much as it has been insecure about this business deal that I'm working on, and I feel really stressed about it. But thank you for sharing that with me. I'll be more mindful of spending more time and being more present with you and the kids. And you could say, I understand why you experienced it that way. Whatever she shares with you, you can just say, I can understand why it would make you feel that way, or why it came across to you that way. I can get it. It doesn't mean she's right and she won. That's not what validation means. You don't have to agree with every detail to acknowledge another person's experience. Understanding her doesn't require abandoning your own perspective. And I think it's important for men to understand this. Just because you understand her, it doesn't mean you are abandoning your own perspective. You can keep your perspective, but you've got to be open to her perspective too, or you will not have a good marriage, ever. 5, protect vulnerability. So when someone trusts you with their fears, their insecurities, their shame, their struggles, Protect that information. Never use that as ammunition during conflict. Never. Because she will shut down and she will learn one of two things, that it's either safe to bring you stuff or she's going to hold it inside and she'll withdraw and disconnect, first physically and verbally, soon emotionally and mentally, and she will either cheat on you or she'll leave you. Trust gives you access to somebody's world, and what you do with that access determines whether you get to keep it or not. Number 6, keep your word and be consistent. Emotional safety isn't created by one great conversation. It's created through repeated evidence. So you said you'd call, so call. You said you'd show up, so you need to show up. And you screw up, you own it. Or you say you'll change something, your behavior changes. It's a very difficult thing to have a meaningful relationship if you can't keep your word and be consistent, especially when the other person is consistent. So people trust patterns, not promises. So remember that. Somebody will say to you, I love you, but they don't show it with their actions. They're self-centered, they're self-absorbed. They don't listen to your needs. They don't make the changes. That's the pattern. That's the proof. That's the data that we're supposed to look at, not listen to their empty promises. Number 7, notice the shift and move towards it. This is understanding people. This is being in the university of your wife. You are in school to learn her. You have to study her internal world. What triggers her, what makes her afraid, what makes her close up, what makes her pull back, what makes her insecure, jealous. This is important to understand, and you're not going to know her inner world unless you talk and you ask questions and you be curious. So the most important thing is to notice the shift in her. Notice the shift in her energy, in her mood, in her emotions, and move towards it. You are so used to probably not even noticing the shift. Some men are like, I don't even notice anything. I don't notice when it changes. Okay, how's that working for you? Time to level up. The second part is you might notice the shift, but you're too scared. You're like, I don't want to go there. It's so easy for me just to be, okay, well, I'm going to go watch some TV, or I'm going to go to Home Depot, or just pretend like you didn't notice anything and leave the room. No wonder your marriage is failing. You've got to notice the shift and move towards it. Lean into her out of curiosity. This will create trust, which will create a better relationship and better sex. So pay attention. Her energy shifts. She gets quiet. Her tone shifts. She seems distant. You sense something isn't right. Then you can ask things like, something feels different. What's going on? And if you're not in the habit of doing this, she's probably going to shut you down. But do not stop. Women just want to be fought for. They want to be chosen. They want to be pursued. So this is how you do it. If she says, I'm fine, don't accept that at all. Say, hey, I know I haven't always been super present, but I want to change that. So I've noticed, I know you, I love you. I've noticed something shifted in you. You are more quiet, whatever it may be. Is it something I said? Is it something I did? I want to know. I want to understand you. Please tell me. Then she will be like, wow, who is this person? And then give her an opportunity, and do not, for the love of God, tell her why you did it. Defend yourself, justify it. Just take responsibility and see from her perspective. Or you can say, did something happen between us? You seem a little bit upset. I say now to my kids when I've been triggered, especially with my 17-year-old daughter, I say, I'm triggered. Or in my last relationship, I'm triggered. It's so easy to say that. And what that means to them is something they did or said didn't sit right with me. I'm not saying it was on purpose. They're not trying to hurt me. Whatever it is, they bumped into me. And I love this analogy. It's like everybody is a can of soda or a drink. And when somebody bumps into you, it's like they bump into the cup and whatever's in spills out. And that's being triggered. We bump into each other all the time, usually unintentionally. And we have to be able to sense that what you said didn't sit well with me. And maybe I'm not sure why. Why did that hurt? Why did it make me feel bad or disrespected? Sometimes I'll say, look, I'm triggered. I don't know why. I'm going to go sit with this for a minute. I'm going to go journal. I'm going to go pray. I just need a minute. And that sets the tone for, hey, something happened. She's being open. She's being vulnerable. She's admitting, hey, I just felt hurt by that. I think it's important for people to know when they've hurt other people so that they stop doing it. Because if you can't be told that what you just said hurt, you should be on an island by yourself. So if she isn't ready to talk, you don't have to interrogate her. You can just simply say, okay, I'm here when you're ready. Please, let's talk about this today before the sun goes down. And I'm not leaving. I'm not going to forget about this. You're not responsible for reading her mind, but you should be paying enough attention to notice when something changes. And don't only learn how to handle the conversations your partner brings to you, but become the kind of man who notices when a conversation needs to happen and you actually initiate it. And don't be a wuss about it. Men, do not just revert to your man cave and avoid it because it's so easy and that's what you've been doing for years. That's why your relationship is not fulfilling, because these patterns need to be interrupted today. Number 8, become a student of the people you love, which kind of has to do with the previous one. You probably know, like, you know your business, your numbers, your industry, your investments, the people you hire, you ask good questions, but how well do you know your wife? Think about this. She's the mother of your children probably, and you literally don't even know what her dream date would look like, or what her dream day would look like if she had a whole day off by herself, or her favorite food, or what her morning routine is, or her biggest fear, or her dream vacation. So these are important things to know. What makes her shut down? What is it that you do that makes her shut down? And if you knew it, you probably would stop doing it. What makes her feel cherished? Is it putting a pillow under her feet and playing with her hair? Is it asking her how her day was? What makes her feel rejected? What does she need when she's hurting? Does she just need a hug? Women are complicated creatures, especially with being pregnant and nursing and child rearing and menstrual cycles and all those things. Like, they go through the gauntlet emotionally, and sometimes they have no control over it. Or what makes her feel safe enough to soften up towards you? Is it you putting down your phone? 1 Peter 3:7 instructs husbands to live with their wives with understanding. Why does it say that? Why doesn't it tell women to be understanding? With understanding, because we're complicated creatures that bring something beautiful to a relationship that men can't bring, and vice versa. So stop fighting it and start embracing it, men. Don't just provide for the people you love. Study them. Don't just provide for them. She doesn't care about all the things. Maybe in the beginning for a moment, but that gets old. The long-term satisfying thing she wants is you to study her and to know her and to see her and to embrace her and to accept her for all the complicated, beautiful being that she is. That's what she wants. She wants to be able to be in your presence and feel safe and not have to filter her words. She wants an emotional connection with you. She wants to let down her walls. She wants to feel like a child in your presence. Just to be able to laugh and be playful. If the woman you're with is not playful, it's because she hasn't let down her walls. Master the pause. Number 9, James 1:19 says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That was my life verse for a while. So the next time you are activated, so your nervous system, your heart rate, your temperature, your hormones, your emotions, when they're activated, it could be a good thing you're on a date and your nervous system is activated. We call that the butterflies. When there's high chemistry, our nervous system is activated. When we're offended, our nervous system is activated. So when that happens, we need to pause before reacting and ask 3 questions. And this will take seconds. There's an imaginary pause button we need to push. and no longer react. Reacting is just spontaneous, say whatever comes to your mind. Don't even filter it. Don't even think about it. We want to stop reacting. We want to start responding. Responding is thoughtful. We're responding with wisdom. And there's this beautiful golden buffer that we have within our power that causes life or death. Between the trigger and the reaction is this golden buffer where we can choose to utilize it and just pause. Even 3 seconds, even a breath will save so much heartache for you if you can learn to do this. So number one, what am I feeling? So if you're on a date, what am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling excited. That doesn't mean it's a good thing, by the way. Okay. I'm very passionate about this. Just because it's high chemistry, just because you're nervous, you feel the butterflies, it doesn't mean it's love, and it doesn't mean it's necessarily a positive thing. Oh, I'm feeling triggered. I'm feeling disrespected. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Hurt. Okay. Step two, what am I trying to protect? One of two things, either truth or your ego. If you're trying to protect your ego, that's pride. If you're trying to protect truth, that is about character. Third, what does this relationship need from me right now? This relationship we have between your child, between your spouse, it needs me to express my needs right now because I haven't been doing that. It needs me to set a boundary maybe because this has gone on too long and I'm not going to keep abandoning myself anymore. Oh, this needs me to be truthful or to soften up and be less harsh. So maybe though, it needs an apology. Maybe you need to ask a good question or listen or be tender or 20 minutes for you to collect yourself. Not every battle has to be fought right then and there. You don't have to sign up for every war. Not everybody deserves your energy. And number 10, lastly, learn how to repair conflict. Conflict doesn't necessarily destroy relationships. Unrepaired conflict does. I said in the beginning, if you don't have this skill in your marriage, it will suffer. Or in any relationship, you have to have conflict repair. You have to be able to come back together, preferably the same day, and deal with it, not brush it under the rug. Talk about it, to have both sides be heard and understood and come to basically a meeting of the minds. It doesn't mean you're agreeing, but somebody has probably been offended. And there's a verse in the Bible too, makes me think of right now, that says people argue and fight because they don't get what they want. It's in the New Testament somewhere, probably Ephesians, Galatians. People argue because they don't get what they want. So what is your wife not getting? It's not the vacation. It's not that. She wants the time under that, she wants to feel significant. That's what it is. So you just went down a couple layers. She's not feeling significant. How do you do that? You be present and you start carving out time for her in your schedule, and it becomes a non-negotiable. I want you to change your perspective towards conflict if you haven't already. Conflict is just a disagreement. Conflict in my previous relationships meant arguing, raising our voices, belittling each other, yelling, cursing. That's what conflict was. Now conflict is so different in my world. It's just a disagreement. It's just a calm disagreement, and we bring our ideas to the table and we talk about, and we use I statements, and we don't blame the other person, and we try and discern what the root issue is. Securely attached couples, they will misunderstand each other. They'll still make mistakes. They will get defensive and occasionally hurt each other. Emotional safety doesn't mean never having a rupture, because not everybody is 100% healed of all their past tiny traumas. A lot of stuff is suppressed, and if you're into personal growth, you're going to actively pull up these suppressed emotions and memories and experiences, and you're going to one by one deal with it. That's what I do in my 10-minute grief work in the morning. Or somebody will bump you or trigger you, and that's something suppressed that comes up, which is a signal for you to deal with it. Don't just put it back down, because it's going to be down there and then it's just going to keep popping up. This is why people who don't deal in personal growth very often, this is why They're constantly getting triggered away. Other people, in quotes, are ruining their life or hurting them or making their life hard because it's what's inside of you. It means knowing how to come back together. You can disagree as a securely attached couple. You can bump into each other and trigger each other. It's how you handle the trigger that makes all the difference. And so stop asking who's right. That's not important. Put that in the trash and start asking what's happening between us and what can I do about my part? What can I take responsibility for in my lane? What can I own? That's my part to own, not their part. They're going to own their part because it takes two to tango. I'm going to own my part. You can take 100% responsibility for your 20%. Think about that. This is going to help your ego decrease. Let's say you're 20% wrong or 20% at fault. Take 100% responsibility of that. That's not a big deal. You can do that, right? And that doesn't mean owning her 80% at all. It means completely owning yours, and that's it. So repair can sound like this. I got defensive. Let's try that again. I'm sorry. I got defensive. Can we start over? Or just admit, hey, I wasn't listening. I was distracted on my phone. I'm so sorry. I'm putting my phone down. You have my full attention. Or I can see my part in this. Definitely, I can see what I did wrong. Or I was wrong. I overreacted. And I see that now. Men, don't say sorry when you're not wrong. Don't say sorry just to appease her. That's being a wuss, if I'm being straightforward. And you know I'm a straight shooter. Let's try this conversation again. Can we start over? And remember, a sincere apology never ends with a but. Never. It's never, I'm sorry, but like you shouldn't have received it that way. Or I'm sorry, but that shouldn't have hurt you. Or I'm sorry, but I didn't mean it. I'm sorry, but I had no choice. No, don't say sorry if you can't. It's I'm sorry, period. Or I'm sorry and I won't let that happen again. And I'm sorry and I will set my timer for 10 minutes sooner so I won't be late. Or I'm sorry and I will be more thoughtful about how I speak to you. So ask yourself, can I be powerful and safe? Because right now you might just be powerful, not safe. So can you be strong without becoming hardened? Can you be decisive without becoming controlling? Can you be confident without becoming defensive? Can you be angry without becoming destructive? Can you be successful without becoming emotionally unavailable? Can you be firm without being cruel or harsh? And can you be teachable without feeling weak? Just because you need to be taught something, like how to treat her, how to love her, it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or you're broken. You're your own person with your own upbringing, your own childhood, your own relationships, your own experiences, and everybody plays life by a different rule book. The rule book that they wrote for themselves, and nobody has the same rule book. That is self-mastery. So leadership is not getting everyone around you to behave the way that you want. It's becoming someone who can be trusted with influence and power and responsibility and vulnerability and truth. And the last one, the most important, truth, because she just wants to be truthful with you. She wants to say, hey, you have not been very present. You've been putting work before your family. You prioritize buying us things over being with us. That's truth. Whether you want to agree with it or not, your challenge today, go to your wife, your girlfriend, or someone you deeply love and ask this. Okay, write this down. Come back, pause this. What's one thing I do that makes it harder for you to be completely honest with me? And I'm going to ask my own children this. I'm going to ask my daughter-in-law, my son. What's one thing I do that makes it harder for you to be completely honest with me? And then don't interrupt, don't explain, don't correct, don't defend yourself. Don't tell them that they're wrong. You have to receive their truth. Whether you agree with it or not, you have to receive it, or your relationship will never be safe. So you just listen. Hopefully they share with you. They feel safe enough to answer that question, even though you may have never asked it before. And then you can ask, what would make it easier for you to bring things like this to me? And then listen again, because this exercise is not really testing their ability to communicate. It's testing your ability to receive truth. So I'm going to close with this. Maybe one of the greatest measures of a man isn't how many people listen when he speaks. Maybe it's whether the people closest to him feel safe enough to speak truthfully to him. And I want to be that for the people in my life. I want to be a safe haven. I want them to be able to tell me anything. And I tell my kids this: you can tell me anything, anything at all, and I will never love you any less. You can bring whatever you want to me. Nothing will surprise me. So you can master your business, your finances, your body, men. You high-performing men, you can build something extraordinary. But can you stay grounded when someone challenges you? I know it's hard. I deal with that when I'm challenged. I have to stop for a minute. I have to take a breath to think. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to react. I don't want to be impatient. I don't want to say something I'm going to regret. I don't want to have to apologize later for the 150 millionth time. Can you hear something you don't like without losing command of yourself? Can you apologize without feeling weak? Can you lead without needing to control? There's a difference. Can you be powerful and safe? Right now, you're powerful. Are you safe? Because conquering the world is impressive, like we said, but conquering yourself is greatness. So self-mastery equals emotional safety, which equals trust. When you have emotional safety, there's trust. Without trust, you don't have a relationship. You have an arrangement. When there's trust, there's intimacy. And when there's intimacy, there's influence. I remember my ex-boyfriend and I, this is where we got it right. There was emotional safety. There was trust. There was intimacy. But most of all, there was influence. We learned from each other. We received feedback. I would go to him all the time and ask for wisdom and advice and mentorship. I trusted him, his opinions, his guidance, his vision, his direction. He had a lot of influence over me. That's because I allowed him to have influence over me, because if we back up, there was trust. And because of trust, there was emotional safety. And that's something I definitely want to repeat in my next relationship. So I'm ending with this. I'm going to have these lists actually in the show notes if you want to go back and copy and paste them. Practice one of these emotional safety items this week and keep doing it every day with your kids, with your wife, with your girlfriend. Change the legacy and start becoming a man who is not just powerful, but who is emotionally safe, so you can have a satisfying, meaningful, deep, fulfilling, sexually exciting relationship, maybe for the first time in your life. It is not too late to turn it around. So go get some wind in your hair. And until next week, aloha.